Hello. Are we on?
We don't know.
I know, that's right, exactly.
It's weird.
And it is a little bit weirder. And because it's darker, it's like I'm less inclined to trust it for some reason because there's less light in that
We
corner.
can't see Sean.
We can't see Sean. We can't see her computer. We don't know if anything is working, but we have faith in our
You
humans.
might have come here for nothing.
I know, yeah. I mean, actually, we set up a not as grandiose, small little streaming area in our offices, and one of the things I said was like, I want a monitor so I can see what's going
happening
on
or
the
not.
camera.
Yeah. But that messes with my head. Does it mess with your head?
I seldom look.
Yeah.
To be honest.
See, I feel like I would be.
I caught a glimpse, and then I had like really bad body shaming for a while.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I do the same
was like,
thing. Yeah, but mostly about you. Like when I look at pictures of you, I'm always like,
you're like, oh God,
oh God, why is she doing that?
Whose idea was it to live stream this? I have better posture now. I have really bad posture. I didn't know that.
No, you've got great posture. You're doing good things.
Now I do.
Lifting you up.
When I think about it, it hurts.
All right, so guys on the Twitch, how are you? We have a second interview with Eric Jordan.
We haven't done the intro.
We haven't done the real intro yet, but we wanted to make sure the Twitchers knew what was happening. We like you. Hey, we got Codename Entertainment in the chat.
Yeah.
They're making it happen. Is that Clive?
Probably.
Yo, go
either
Clive.
or Erica, yeah.
Go Clive, go Erica. Woo.
Yay. Woo.
All right, so we're going to do our...
Nice, your friends are watching.
Yeah. My mom? Or no, my wife. Sorry, no.
Happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Not weird.
Not weird.
Not weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's totally weird.
Another one?
It's like D&D Dad.
D and Dad.
Nice. I love it. All right, so hey team, we are going to do our real intro for you guys now, and we'll pretend that this
never happened.
That we're professionals.
Oh, mm-hmm.
No, we're going to pretend that we're professionals.
Well, don't get scared by your screen again.
I know. It touched like my lip. When I was in the middle of talking, and for some reason that like really freaked me out because I was like, is there something crawling on me? And there's been a lot of spiders in Seattle recently.
Oh, thanks.
Because it's like spider season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Like so I could have done this on Skype, right?
You totally should have.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I
Stay away
offered.
from
You're like,
spiders.
no, we'll do it in person. I'm like,
No, I'm going
right.
to take a seaplane and come to Seattle.
A seaplane. You took a seaplane?
Yes,
I did take a seaplane. Oh my God. Now,
that's why
we need this in the actual content.
Wait.
Wait.
I do want to talk about
Hold it in your head. Welcome to Dragon Talk, everybody.
Woo!
I am Greg Tito, and I'm joined by
Shelly Mazanoble.
and
Eric Jordan
is also here joining us in person. Flew all the way here on a seaplane.
It's true.
Were you actually like making the seaplane work?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are seaplanes scary?
Are seaplanes scary? No, because especially flying from Victoria to Seattle,
Yeah.
you're flying over water. And seaplanes land on
water. Yeah,
so
it's
it's
better.
like you've got an entire runway
Nice.
Yeah.
that, you could land on.
But
So
how many people
potentially.
can fit on a seaplane?
I guess it depends. 6, 8.
They're that big inside?
Oh my gosh, that is not a lot of
I
people.
mean, there are some that are like, 4, but yes.
Wow.
They look so cool when they land, but I just always think, I don't want to get in one of those things.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're doing this the whole time. Too much movement.
That's what the pilot's doing.
Yeah.
That's how he flies it.
Yeah, he's like, that's what I was thinking. When I'm like, you put your arms out and you're trying to.
Yeah.
Now I picture him to be like a seagull.
Mine. But we will get to our real deep dive on what you're doing with Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms very soon. But real quick, it's an awesome game, which you should go check and follow the bit.ly link for Greg Tito.
Or Shelly Moo.
bit.ly/Greg Tito. You'll be able to try out.
Or /Shelly Moo.
No. Don't do the Shelly Moo link.
This
Either
is a
one
competition,
works.
please.
It is a competition.
Yeah.
Life is a competition.
While I go through announcements, you should go put in that link right now and
To
go check it
Shelly
out.
Moo.
For those of you who are listening to this in podcast form, you're going to hate us, but those links will probably still work, right?
Probably at that point we'll be in early access on Steam.
Because I'm going to create a bot.
When you're listening to this on the RSS feed or whatever on iTunes or Google Play, you can just go right to idlechampions.com.
There you go.
And find out about it out there.
Yes.
But in the meantime, you can also check out a few other fun things that are happening in the Dungeons & Dragons world. D&D Beyond is out. Make your characters now. If you're interested in just learning up about a spell when you're away from your books, you can just use it for that. Just go ahead and just download or go to the website and search for stuff. It's a great interface for consuming D&D content. I suggest you do it. Plus, you can learn about pronunciation from...
Now,
Matt Mercer.
I was just going to say.
And Marisha Ray.
Who does the pronunciations?
Matt Mercer and Marisha Ray from Critical Role.
That's pretty cool.
They know how to say Sahuagin.
They know how to say words.
They know how to say D&D words that I have like misspoke for years.
I know. I'm going to.
Years.
Don't you
Definitely
just say you're
play
like
around
doing it with like a different accent?
Well,
That's how they say it in
my
Waterdeep.
part
That's how they
of
say it in
my part
Cormier.
of the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah,
they say it like that.
exactly.
That's how I always covered.
It works. It
Yeah.
works. It totally works. Also, you probably have already checked out the PAX West live show, but it's happening on Sunday, September 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be on this here D&D Twitch channel, but it will also be available on the PAX channel as it's going on. Holly Conrad from Dice Camera Action is joining as Strix. She'll be at the table with the Acquisitions Incorporated crew. I can't wait to see that. And
Me
if you
too.
want a sneak peek, you can go to the Penny Arcade website and or the Acquisitions Incorporated website. I think there's links back and forth between those. And find out there's a podcast where she's playing with Jim Dark Magic and Viari, played by Patrick Rothfuss. So it's good stuff. Of course, the two mages of Strix and Jim Dark Magic get into a little scruff, as it is. Yeah, they're a little bit professionally upset with each other.
Oh, dear.
/ personally upset with each other. But you'll figure it out. And it's awesome. I can't wait to happen on stage. So that's happening September 3rd at 6:30 p.m.
Cool.
In the meantime, Dragon Dice Camera Action is taking a little bit of a break until September 19th, I believe. That's a Tuesday. So in the meantime, Dragon Plus is going to be a new show happening in that time slot, 4 p.m. Pacific time to 6 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays on this here Twitch channel. Bart Carroll will be interviewing with some deep dives, a little bit different than what we do here for Dragon Talk. He'll be doing deep dives about specific parts of the lore. Adam Lee is going on tomorrow, and or in the past if you're listening to this in podcast form. But all of the back versions of that will be in the collections tab on the D&D Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/DND. You can always watch live recordings of us recording this here very podcast, but of course, all the other fun programming in there, as well as previews for Tomb of Annihilation, which is coming out September 19th everywhere, and September 8th in game stores. Also, as we just were talking to one of the fun people from the Dungeon Masters Guild Adept program, there will be fun adventures that are ancillary, kind of extra DLC, if you may, to the Tomb of Annihilation adventure available on the Dungeon Masters Guild on September 8th when it's available in game stores. So check that out. And you can find out more about the Guild Adept program and DM's Guild in general at dmsguild.com or on dungeonsanddragons.com. Force Grace, Lost City of Omu. We'll be throwing it to them in about 40 minutes. A new episode, I believe it's episode 5, is coming out, and that has Matt Mercer doing pronunciation of Forgotten Realms things in context around the table with Joe Manganiello, Deborah Ann Wall, Brian Poussaint, Dylan Sprouse, and Utkar Shambudkar. They'll all be playing through some amazing Tomb of Annihilation storyline stuff. And I think we're going to be going with that one for a long time. And I think episode 5 is pretty much amazing. It's half-hour content. It's really bingeable. So now that there's 5 or 6 episodes up there, you can binge through it in 2 or 3 hours and get caught up on the story. It's lots of fun stuff. Also, if you're really interested, there's season 1 of Force Grey, which we call Giant Hunters, which introduced some of these characters and what Force Grey is all about. They're basically like a superhero of D&D adventurer gangs that is under the personal control of the Black Hand of Waterdeep.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
I guess you didn't. But Laura, you should know.
Yeah.
There's we have a couple of them on that.
So how many more episodes are there?
A lot.
A lot. Okay.
I'm not gonna. I don't. Yeah.
It's not publicly stated. 'Cause
Not
we're kinda
publicly stated.
We're like
Yeah.
working at the office. My wife and I have been watching.
It's
we're
double-
like, how many
double
more are
digits.
these?
Yeah. It goes up there.
Yeah, spread it out.
Another fun thing though
Oh
is
my God! What did you
this.
just pull out?
I just pulled out this. It's a Demogorgon statue. You cannot get it anymore.
What?
But I wanted to finally show it to you because I've had it in my possession for a while. I'm not gonna pull it out of the box because it's crazy stock. But it's a life size. It is about 12 inches high plastic statue of Demogorgon, the demon from Out of the Abyss campaign, also featured in Stranger Things season 1, and it was in a Loot Crate DX package that you had to order it by August 19th. So the very special people who listened to me, who said it was cool, you got rewarded by this amazing statue. And I just wanted to completely spoil it for you now because I can.
Somebody
Because it doesn't-
wants you to
it's
take
a
that.
gift. It's a gift for your guests, right?
It's a gift for
It's
every
a
one of the
gift
guests.
of the
Everybody here who's in
physical
chat will be
guests.
getting it right now.
Okay,
Uh,
Oprah.
And also Eric will be getting it as well because he is He is the Demogorgon, and he's got 2 baboon heads in life.
That's
so
like us.
Bonus head.
Exactly, as a bonus
Greg and
head.
I are your baboon
Right.
heads.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You are totally welcome because it is amazing. And if you're interested in jumping into some Out of the Abyss stuff and/or some of what's going on here in Chult, you can check out Tomb of Annihilation in Neverwinter. It is the free-to-play MMO. It's action. It's made by our friends at Cryptic Studios and is published by Perfect World Entertainment. It's on PC right now. You can jump right in and play what's happening in Chult and have fun with Volothamp Gedarn, who's voiced by Chris Perkins. He'll send you out on some monster things, monster hunts, but it will be out on Xbox One and PS4 on September 12th. That's right. The day after September 11th, you can jump into Chult on Xbox One and PS4. Don't ever do that when you're selling something. That's probably the worst thing you could possibly say. Yeah. But I did it because I'm crazy. What? When I've done these things like 3 times that the announcements get really good.
To think of another way to say the same thing.
Exactly, over and over again, and it gets better every time.
Yep.
Wow. It's like a fine wine. Yeah, exactly.
Let it get some air.
All right, so I've talked enough, and I want to get to talking about Eric about all his fun stuff. So we're going to throw it to a segment. We're going to throw it to some lore you should know.
Okay.
With do you want to bing bong it up?
I can't.
No?
That's you.
Okay. All right.
I'm not ready for that.
I just killed the sound guy. Poor Ryan. He's like, no, what are you doing? All right, make it happen.
Make it happen. This is good. This is
yeah,
nice.
this is
make
good.
It happen.
Make it happen. That's a home run. That's home run.
Do you like that, Ryan, when we talk to you like this?
So
Ryan.
I'm sorry, Ryan.
Make it happen.
Can you actually hear that?
I just thought it was stupid. It wasn't loud or anything.
Okay, good. Well, it was stupid.
Get you like a triangle.
Yeah, like a bong, bong, bing, bong.
Little castanets.
You guys are good people. All right, so that was a really good segment when we delve deep into that lore just then, wasn't it? Do you feel like you know more now?
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. All right.
You've lived longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, experience.
Yeah,
exactly.
More.
Yeah, you're older than you've ever been.
I'm really excited to talk to Eric.
Me too.
I'm so excited.
He's right here. He came all the way on a plane.
On a seaplane.
Did you land in Lake Washington?
Lake Union.
Lake Union.
Yeah.
All right, that's pretty damn cool.
Lake Union,
Was it? So. Is it scary when you land?
No. I don't find any part of it scary. But I've flown them. So I did a contract a few years ago where I flew to Vancouver on the float plane. Every Tuesday morning I flew over, and every Wednesday night I flew back. So I flew it once a week for 3 years. So, yeah.
I might try it. It's a bucket list thing.
It's a bucket list type thing, right?
We can host you up at Codename.
Ooh, that'd be cool. We should do that.
We should do that.
But speaking of a bucket list thing, has it always been your dream to make a video game that has Dungeons and Dragons as a license?
I mean,
the answer to that is yes. Just say yes.
I think it would be. It would like. I think if I go back to myself at 12, first playing D&D.
Is that when you were in that adorable picture?
Yeah. And it was like totally like that school photo looks like I was in Stranger Things. So yeah. So I mean, if I think back to that point, it would be like exceeding my dreams. Like I couldn't even like imagine that I could
beyond
get to
your
do
dreams.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just. It's a really amazing thing. Yeah,
nice.
It's been so awesome.
So we'll get to talk more in detail about what's going on with Idle Champions, but I want to go back to 10-year-old you, 12-year-old you playing Dungeons and Dragons while you were at summer camp. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a theater camp.
Camp.
Yeah, I did when I was a kid. Yeah, I know. And listening to this, I'm like, oh my God, like how many people were in theater? It was the gateway drug into Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people.
Jeff Sessions is going to stop us doing theater because of that reason.
Yeah. So there we go.
No kids can do theater ever anymore.
Yeah. It was a production of The Snow Queen, and I was 12 years old, and the older kids, who I think were maybe 14, had brought in AD&D, the AD&D books, and we're like, oh, hey, why don't we do this thing? And so we rolled up some characters over lunch, and we only played like a couple of times because I think it was only a week or so long.
Right.
And then it was sort of ended. But I remember really playing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And it was 1981, and so like translating the love of like making a thing into a computer video game wasn't something that was like, oh yeah, I'll make a video game out of it or something like that, right? But this notion that you could like come up with some stuff and turn it into a world, I remember as like 12-year-old Eric going like, I have to do this, like I have to do this, and I have to be a DM.
Really?
Like there was no doubt in my mind as a young child, and I played really all the way through graduating university on a really, really regular basis. And I was always somewhat confused why other people would be players. I was like, who wouldn't want to be a DM? Like, to me, that was like the favorite thing was to, invent these worlds and do this. And when the first time I played at home, we didn't have, I didn't have any of the books, didn't have any of the dice.
Right.
And so I just had some friends come over, and I was trying to remember, got them some pieces of paper and trying to remember what the stats were. And I rated all of our Monopoly and stuff for all the D6s and things.
Oh, nice.
And then we started playing, and about partway through, I could sense it. Like the kids were like, "You have no idea what you're doing." And so I was like, oh no, this is not going to work, right? And so I started making the story more elaborate, and when they were killing these goblins, more blood and the feeling of the blood. And then I remember we did this climactic kind of battle against this goblin king, and and I had oh, you have to roll whatever, and they rolled these dice, and then they were like, okay, and you chop off its head, and and what struck me was being able to invent a thing in my mind that then translated into something that was real as far as the experience of these characters, these players were.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is just awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So that was at 12 years old, you were already feeling that creator's high in a way almost.
But
right?
I say, for me, there was never a question of playing or DMing. I was always I always want to DM. And so my wife and I have 3 kids, and what's been interesting about watching them play Dungeons and Dragons has been, it seems to kind of at least watching them hit, either they want to be players, 2 of the 3 really enjoy playing, but they want to be players, and they occasionally DM, but for the most part, they really want to play. Yeah. It's our youngest who, when he plays, I want to DM.
Nice.
I want to kind of help create this sort of world for people. But I think that's kind of it sort of hits people one way or the other.
Yeah, you're right.
Experience of it. They either like one side of that or the other side.
I think I'm on the DM side at this point. I think I really vastly more enjoy dungeon mastering than playing.
Did you start on the player side?
I started on the player side.
Okay.
Yeah. And what always fascinated me about the game was this other world. You could create another world that had its own rules. That was basically the simulation part of the game is what I really latched onto. And so when I was a player, I never got that experience. I never really had a dungeon master that fleshed it out fully for me, where I felt anything I do has a reaction. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was always everything I do fell into the storyline that was being told and the other players, right? But as a dungeon master, you're adapting to your players and what they're doing, but it's always going. It's always, the simulation's always running in your head. And so even though you're not necessarily thinking about what's happening 3 countries away or whatever, you knew that, or at least when I'm playing, I'm all right, well, at least I know I could just make it up and it's still part of the simulation that's in my head, even though it's not necessarily, I'm cognizant of what's actually happening. Yeah. And for some reason, it's easier for me to have that suspend my disbelief as a dungeon master way easier than it is for me to do it as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was saying,
it's your story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was saying to Kieran that the clearer he can get it in his head, the better he is able to communicate it to his players.
Yeah.
The clearer picture he's got.
That's what you say to your youngest?
Yeah, our youngest. Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 12 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
When did you start playing with them?
We started playing with them right after 4th edition came out.
Okay. That was
2008?
2008?
Yeah, so we had started, so my wife and I, we both have enjoyed games, and we found games are a great way to get the whole family to the table to do a thing.
Right.
And so we played a lot of video games and board games and Dungeons and Dragons. sort of as part of that. And so we started going to Gen Con and a bunch of other kind of conventions and stuff
cool.
like that as our family holiday and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So
That's great.
yeah,
Nice.
and
I want to do that. Yeah. Well, my girls are 6 and 4, so very soon it's going to start,
yeah,
and we'll bring Quinn in too.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Because I feel like you need 3. I think you only need you need
Yep.
3 kids and
One
the
of them's
parents.
gonna be like poop, butthole, poop.
That's what we
my
need.
kid.
That's actually all my kids, all of
Oh
our
really?
kids, really, right?
They're gonna be a great party.
They're just going to be pooping all
Party.
over.
Poop party.
Well, the transition period for us had been when my middle child was, not sure if his friends would really want to play D&D. He had a lot of Littlest Pet Shop characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I also have a lot of Dwarven Forge. And so I used Dwarven Forge to set up these dungeons.
Yes.
And then we used Littlest Pet Shop characters for the kids.
Perfect.
And then the monsters were all candy. And so when you killed the monster, you got to eat the gummy worm or whatever it was.
Dude, way
We
to
would
train
be
'em.
all
Like, yeah,
over
so
it.
that worked really well.
Yeah,
and then I used the...
Don't eat it before you. No, you rolled a 1. You didn't kill it. You
Yeah,
can't
you
eat
can't
that.
Yeah, that's right.
So when they're that young, what do you do about their characters? Like you don't kill their character, do you? Does it take a nap?
No, yeah,
Does it go
no.
to timeout? What does it do?
No. I mean, I think the
Take a nap.
the challenge that you may die but not actually kill them.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually at that time, because that was sort of during 4th edition, which is a rule set, wasn't a particularly great rule set for that young kids. And so I took the Castle Ravenloft rules, which
From the board game?
Yeah, just
good.
because they were, pretty easy to do, and I kind of even simplified those a bit, and then I did up character sheets for everyone, and then I did their hit points. I did the hit points as candy, like little hearts. And so when you got hit, it was like, oh, I took damage, but I get to eat some candy.
Oh, that's a good, also good training.
These are very good
So when
training
they're
skills,
older,
right?
they're
That's
going
right.
to be like,
And so they're like, oh, it's
Oh,
not
I
so
feel bad, but if I have candy, I'll feel better.
yeah. And like you had a healing surge, right? So the healing surge was a bigger gummy. It's like, oh, I got to use
More
my healing
candy.
surge, more candy.
Oh, I love this idea.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it was a lot of sugar, but it
But
was
no,
good.
look, you're
But
raging
sugar,
gamers.
and it fuels imagination, right? If
There we
anything.
go. Well, it was more of
Lots
it was a
of
birthday
things.
kind of thing, so it wasn't like a every weekend regular
Right,
get together thing.
right.
So
So going back to your background, when did you transition from playing Dungeons and Dragons and dungeon mastering to getting into? I mean, are you a coder as well? Like, do you ever program?
I have a painting degree.
You have a painting degree.
Whoa.
Painting degree.
Really?
God.
Yeah, really. Yeah. You look at me like you're not sure.
No, I just we're always
Go
just
paint something right now.
prove it.
No.
Draw me a happy little tree.
Well,
Yeah,
how did you get into loving Dungeons and Dragons and playing Dungeons and Dragons to making games, video games? That's the real question.
So
I guess that's what my face was trying to say.
you're like, how do these pieces go together?
Yeah, right.
So when I was at UVic, so like I really don't have a lot of work experience, ironically. I had been like tree planting and doing some kind of odd
Painting.
stuff, and I was getting this degree in art, which, I love art, and I was like, okay, I want to go do this art degree, so I was doing that, and myself and a friend in university came up with some ideas. This is like the early 90s around doing an image database and sort of transactional software stuff, and he was on the coding side, and I was kind of on the user side.
Okay.
And so when I graduated in 93, the university approached us and said, hey, would you guys like to turn this thing into a company? And we basically had a beer, and we were like, well, I'll do it if you do it. I'll do it if you do it. Sure, okay. And so we launched into building this company, which was, I have to say, my least informed choice in my entire life.
That has had the most effect on your
It's
life?
such a
Sometimes
huge, yeah.
those are the best
It was
ones.
just
Yeah.
like, it was like, oh, okay.
Gut instinct.
Yeah, so we, the guy started with it, a guy named Dave Manning. We were both like, I was like, well, you make the product and I'll do everything else.
Right.
Everything else ending up being a fair amount of work.
That is a lot of stuff.
We were a venture-backed company, so I raised $30-odd million for that company.
What?
Yeah, and then we sold it to IBM in 2005.
Whoa.
So it was like a sort of 12 years of my life of building that company up and going. And so Hasbro, when
Yes.
Hasbro files its annual statements and stuff like that with the SEC, they file using our software. It would be one of the examples.
Do you ever hold that over their heads? You're like, by the way, I know I have a backdoor key
that's
that
right.
is still
Yeah,
in there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so hey Hasbro, you should think about this Dungeons and Dragons thing
That's
a little
right.
more.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's how it. That's exactly how it happened. Yeah, so
That's cool. So then,
so-
did you take
so-
the windfall from that to form Codename? Is that what happened?
No. The journey continues. So,
The journey continues.
So we started. The last company was Pure Edge, and then after we sold it, I really didn't want to stay with IBM. It was a great place, but I was like, I really don't want to be here, and I'm kind of tired of all this. And so a friend was like, so you sell a company, and a lot of people are really nice to you. Like, you talk to people, and they're all really polite to you. Lawyers are polite to you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this friend of mine called me up, and he's like, so what are you going to do now? And I'm like, well, I was going to take a couple months off and start another one because I've learned all this stuff, and I've got some money, and I can do this another company. And we can swear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there. So, because literally, I will never forget, because he's like, if you do that, you're a fucking idiot. I'm like, really? No one's really swearing to me a lot like that. And he's like, after building a company, it's such a, like, you have these blinders on, and you're so focused on making that thing work that if you go directly into another company, you'll totally screw it up. So you really need to take time off. Okay. And so I was like, well, I guess. Okay, seems like a good idea.
At this point, though, did you know what the company you wanted to start was going to be?
No, I just had some ideas, like, it could be this, and I had more general structures that I was looking for, what I'd want in the next company. But
So how did you get to Codename?
So
let's jump ahead to that.
Well, so I went home, and I said, we should take some time off. So my wife and I went to Southeast Asia for 6 months. Then I did a bunch of other things, staying at home.
Yeah.
And your kids?
Looking after kids, raising kids.
But did your kids go? Did you not have kids?
No, yeah, we did. We just had our third child. So all three, like the three kids,
the whole family went
plus
off.
my wife, and we brought someone with us to help as well, because our youngest was not even 1. And so we spent 6 months in Southeast Asia traveling around.
Wow, amazing.
And then I did some consulting stuff for a while. Then my wife did her master's, and then once that was all done, I was like, now I want to get into running a business.
That was good advice your friend gave you.
Yeah, so I took several years off, and then when I wanted to get back into business, I had a particular kind of structure of what I wanted in a business, and you kind of like, well, would this sort of fit that structure? And would this fit that structure? And you look at your hobbies, and you're like, oh, well, would video games kind of fit that structure?
Right.
It's like, oh, yeah, no, it does a bunch of stuff that I was particularly looking for. And so then I met Dave and Justin, who started our company, Codename Entertainment, and they'd started it 4 years earlier. And so I met them, both coders and game designers, and they got the company up and going.
Nice.
But didn't have sort of the business background that I had. And so I met them and was like, hey. Actually, when we first met, we met at Dave's place.
And you played Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, no, he still had all the D&D stuff set up.
Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
It was still D&D, yeah. So it was funny, like, because I walked in, and it was like, I think it was a Monday, and he'd had a D&D game the Sunday night before. And so I walked in and saw, like, all this D&D stuff, and I'm like, okay, these are my people. I can work with these people.
Yes.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Had you been playing, like, throughout when you were at IBM and all the other places? Or have you been playing, or was it like a thing that you didn't go away from for a while?
I stopped playing in '93 when I started my first company, just because I was traveling a huge amount and raising money, and so yeah, my life was just sort of insane for a while there, and then then we started having kids, and I was still traveling, and then we were traveling on our own, and we had young kids at home, and it was really when the kids started getting old enough that I could get them involved, particularly our eldest Darius, when he was sort of 10, 12, it was like, oh, let's play this thing. And so then we started playing D&D.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, and then you guys, did Codename have made their first game yet, or were you?
Yeah. So Dave and Justin had started the company back in the day doing Facebook games, when Facebook games first were a thing, in sort of 2008, 2009 kind of time frame. And so they gotten up and going that way. And so they already had some users playing games and all that good stuff. And I came in and was like, okay, let's keep building the company.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. And forgive me, the champions of the lost
What, this game?
idol? No, the previous one.
One on my shirt?
No. I was just because people may know
Crusaders of the Lost Idols.
Crusaders of the Lost Idol has some of the right words there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So that was
yeah.
the game that kind of.
That was a game before this one. Well, there had been a few. The company had launched with a game called Egg Breaker on Facebook initially. Bushwhacker 1, Bushwhacker 2 had both been very successful for the company. Bushwhacker 2, we continue to live service. We push out an update in that game.
Nice.
Yeah, we do new stuff in that game weekly, and so we've been doing that for 5.5 years for that particular game.
Right.
And then 2 years ago, we came out with our first idol game, which was Crusaders Lost Idols. which was great because we had been a web company before in terms of, like, our games had all been on websites like Facebook and Congregate and Armor Games and stuff like that.
Right.
Crusaders was the first one we launched on Steam, which we were like, Steam,
Whoa.
yay. Yeah, so we were pretty excited about that.
With its own client. It's got a client.
Yeah, well, I think it's a fun, I don't know. As a game developer, you're like, oh, Steam's like this, real platform, and then of course consoles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As sort of
They're
like
all real
legitimate
platforms. They're all real platforms.
There we go.
They're all good dogs, Bront.
Yeah, but Crusaders has stayed in the top 1% of games played on Steam for the last 2 years. So,
Nice.
yeah, we tend to hover the 140, 150th most played game on that platform. So, yeah. So that's been
people,
awesome.
lot of
people dig
games
that
on
game.
that
If I
platform.
mention Codename Entertainment to people, that's like the first thing. Oh yeah, I know about it. Like even if they haven't played themselves, they will they know someone who does.
Yeah, it's been fun being at shows. Like, I like to do gaming shows and stuff. And so, we had a show with sort of stuff. People were like, oh, yeah, I know that game. Yeah.
Right,
So,
right. 'Cause
yeah.
it's got like an iconic kind of art design that people can be like get on board. So then what was the transition from having that game out there and using some D&D tropes in that to wanting to make Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms?
So I think it was that, like, idle games are a new genre, and people, in terms of game genres, there's not that many kind of new game genres, and so people wouldn't necessarily quite know why. It was like, why are people playing these, and what's fun about these? And they appeal to certain people and don't appeal to other people. And I really enjoy playing them, and I'm like, oh, this is like a really fun part of kind of an RPG quest kind of progression piece that I think is really fun. And I was thinking, like, what are other things you kind of do with that? And of course, D&D being like the grandfather of kind of RPG, I was like, oh, I know something that would be a really great fit for that. So, yeah. And I've been playing a lot of the closed alpha that we're in on Steam right now.
Right.
And my wife and I spent a lot of the weekend, even though it was sunny, playing inside, playing our game.
Good for you.
Yeah, there we go. Yes. Good, a good example for our children.
Yeah.
And and I was just like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted that experience to be like, because when you're doing all of these constant updates, you need this incredible kind of stream of content and history and stuff like that. And Dungeons & Dragons has such a deep lore and all these stories that we can kind of touch on and all these different characters. I'm like, it's exactly what I wanted it to be. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And people can check out the closed alpha now, right?
Yeah, so, I assume somewhere on the stream there's the 2 links.
Yes.
So you can,
We can put
click
some
on
links
your
in there.
favorite host. It's basically they go to the same spot, but we do know which host you click on. And then we'll be approving all those, and you'll get a little key, and it's on Steam. Sort of caveat is, for right now, it's PC only. It will be Mac once we do the release, but we don't have a Mac build up there right now, so if you have a Mac, it won't give you that.
Nice.
Yet,
So it's
So Greg's key is for a Mac.
that's right.
That's right.
So it
You
won't
better
work.
click on mine.
So you have to
Yeah,
use this. So
that's
it's
right.
Gotta use mine.
bit.ly/Greg Tito, and you can try out Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms right now.
You can, right now. So
Right.
just in the closed alpha. So we've been playing with balance and doing a bunch of stuff for the closed alpha. And then it'll go into early access on Steam after that.
So for people who don't know what an idle game is, we've thrown around that term a bunch. I've talked about it here on here a bunch of times. And I try to explain it in like an encapsulating way, but what's your definition of what that means?
So I think it's a game where you focus much more on the management aspects of the game than on sort of like if you're playing like World of Warcraft and kind of a particular rotation in terms of attacks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, what you're doing is you're recruiting these different champions, you're leveling them up, and they're going and completing quests for you. So you're not actually going kind of like, going to the quest giver and clicking on it and accepting the quest. So they're going and accepting quests and completing quests for you, and what you're really focused on is leveling them up, kind of managing where you place them to get the most optimal amount of damage per second, DPS, that you can do for them to move through and complete quests and make you
Faster,
more powerful.
to get more powerful.
Yeah. So in that one, you're collecting Divine Favor, and the Divine Favor makes you more and more powerful over time.
Okay.
So you can have more than one character?
Yeah, so this one, so there are 12 base champions.
Okay.
And there's actually a 13th that you get by signing up to the newsletter, and so there's sort of a total of 13 champions, right, sort of around launch time. And you have 9 slots in the formation, and so you need to choose which one you want to put, and where you put them has huge impact on kind of the gameplay. And so that's sort of the puzzle piece. So you're kind of managing how money gets spent, and you're managing where you put them.
It's kind of like fantasy baseball.
I guess.
I never did
Kind of
fantasy
like
baseball.
building your roster.
Yeah.
and, like,
Yeah.
Because you're not playing the
you're
games
managing
in
them.
those
Yeah, they're
things.
doing the thing, but you're
Right.
creating the
Yeah.
team. And
I was thinking Football Manager, like
Yeah.
that whole thing for soccer people in the in the
Oh.
UK. They basically have it's the same thing, right? It's
Yeah.
you're recruiting people.
Fantasy manager.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, it's a fantasy
Yeah,
manager.
Yeah.
Or you're
So-
like Charlie of Charlie's Angels.
I guess.
You're just like Charlie at Charlie's
Kind of.
Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have 13
100%.
angels.
That was always my
Right.
favorite stand-up joke that never actually landed. Was always like, "So how's your fantasy team? Is your fantasy team doing good? Yeah. Did you have Atreyu going all the way, or Frodo? Do you like Frodo? Is he gonna go? Yeah. I'll trade for him." And people were like, "No, that's not funny." And even right now,
Was
people are
that-
like, "It's not funny."
Was
Greg.
that one of yours? Like a Greg original?
That was a Greg original. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it
give
didn't
it
land.
up to
No,
them.
no,
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah,
land.
no.
It didn't land, but it
Well,
still makes me laugh to this
Your
day.
build-up was like, this joke really super sucks. Nobody laughs.
Yeah,
Here
right.
it goes.
Here we go. Let's try with a not laughing. 1, 2, 3, not laugh. Yeah, that's essentially what it was. So,
Okay.
what are some of the champions that are in Idle Champions?
So all of the Force Grey characters
No.
from the
Aw.
current season, yeah. So so 4 of them are in the base set, and then the additional. So Hitch is the one that you'll get through signing up for the email for it.
Nice.
So all 5 of those characters are in there.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
And then we've got everyone from kind of Brunor through to Force Grey. So sort of a whole history of different
You
champions.
got these guys.
We do.
do?
Yeah.
Minsk and Boo. Minsk and Boo are in there. You can totally play with them.
Yeah, I think the current meta on the game is that Minsk is your best sort of DPS to build around because he sort of does a fair amount of damage for the price point and does an AoE attack, a smaller AoE attack, but so that works well.
Sweet.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there you go.
I build up my team.
Yeah.
I send them off. I bid them adieu. Good luck. Godspeed. And then
Well, you watch them.
I'm
Like
watching
you're
them.
watching them. Yes, yeah.
They just are, but I'm
So
not
they're doing
controlling
their thing.
anything.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just-
you're controlling when they're leveled up. So they're killing monsters and getting gold, and you're like, oh, do
and
I
I'm
want?
watching that happen.
Yeah, do I want to level up Brunor some more? Because that'll give me this buff, which will make Minsk more powerful. Or do I want to like recruit my next character because I want to get Arcan going because I want to get his ultimate for his fire breath piece.
And they're all, are they together? Are they all working together? Or
yeah,
are they
yeah. No,
split
they're
up?
all working
Okay.
together. Yeah, yeah.
And they're on the same side
They're all on the same side. It's true.
against the monsters or the bandits or whoever you're fighting.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And they go. It's all in the Sword Coast, right? So it's all like locations from Forgotten Realms lore that you've known for years now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, actually, we've got a placeholder map in the map piece. So if you click map, you get literally the Sword Coast map.
Oh,
that comes
nice.
up. Yes. So we're doing one that looks a little more in the style of the game, which we'll have for early access. But for now, when you click on it, you get literally the Sword Coast map.
It's an alpha, people. It's an alpha.
it's an alpha, yeah, that's true.
You're in there just playing around, having fun. But it's been cool, like seeing like Jarl Axel and like all these characters that I've seen, I've known from reading Bob's books or anything like that. To be like, oh, all right, that's that guy.
Yeah.
I can recruit him. Nice, let's make it happen.
Yeah. Well, it was fun designing kind of like the attacks and stuff like that. Like Jaraxel, like so, he teleports when he's doing the attack, and everyone else tends to attack the first monsters that are coming in the wave, but he jumps and attacks the back one, then jumps back and stuff
Neat.
like that. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, are you guys? How big is the team that's making the game?
So we have 18 people in the studio, the vast majority of whom are on this game right now.
Nice.
It's been like a lot of work, because you get this opportunity to do a D&D game. You're like, everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And so you're just like, it's been a lot of work. So we've been, actually, it was funny because we were there, I don't know, this is a couple weeks ago, and we were there until, it was like 8 o'clock at night.
Uh-huh.
And then Adam, who's our lead artist and has been just doing a huge amount of work on all this because there's been a lot of art stuff to generate.
Adam,
Yay! Well,
you,
I mean,
Adam.
yes, and well, and all of the other people at Codename.
everyone
Thank you.
else
All the
too,
other
but
people at
go
Codename.
Adam for right now.
For right now. But so Adam, so he starts taking these tables and starts setting up, and I'm kind of like, what are you doing, Adam? And he's like, oh well, we're playing D&D tonight. Like, he's like, finishing a 12-hour day, and then a bunch of people will show up to then play D&D that night.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's what I was going to ask. Is like, is there any D&D happening in the office? But that's
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely. Of
How could you
course.
not?
Still got the taste for the D&D. You're
Yeah.
like in it all day.
Yeah.
It's not
Well-
like working at an ice cream shop and then you're just sick of ice cream.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Totally different.
Can you be sick
Totally
of ice cream? Like,
I-
so,
yeah, right.
Apparently,
so.
it's never happened to me.
I think Ben and Jerry both eat a lot of ice cream.
I was sick of
Just throwing-
pizza when I worked at Little Caesars Pizza for a summer in college. So that happens.
I would never be sick of pizza.
You would if you smelled like peppers and onions all day, every day.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Do you
Mhm.
smell like Jarl Axel all day, every day?
You smell
What's
like
Jarl Axel smell like?
I do. Well, something like
Old
a
Spice.
suave and
Old
debonair.
Spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's Old Spicy.
Like ladies,
Old Spicy.
like here's that ticket for that thing you want.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's cool. So that's awesome that they and they played. Right? Did you play with them?
No, I went home.
Yeah.
With my wife
Nice.
and kids. So yes, though
Yeah.
I brought in because I have a lot of. I really like minis, so I've got the old Raoul Partha minis from when I was a kid.
no
But
way.
those were well, A, for my kid budget, they were expensive, and B, you had to kind of paint them, and so I have sort of a small collection of those. And then when the minis started coming out, like when I was playing a lot of 4th edition, it was really useful to have minis, and I was an
absolutely.
adult and sold a company, so I bought a lot of minis.
All
and
of the
then
minis.
a lot of Dwarven Forge stuff, and
Yeah,
then started
that's
making my
cool.
own Dwarven Forge. There's sort of a whole modding sub-community to Dwarven Forge, so I was doing kind of my own mods, and then
neat.
also building pieces that they didn't have at the time of roofs and stuff like that. And so, I like making minis. So I brought a lot of that stuff into the office, so that's kind of all there for people.
it's like
but I've got
the
my
inspiration.
own,
Yeah,
but I've got my
seriously.
own D&D section. I'm like, look, this stuff, whenever it needs to come home, is mine, and not to get subsumed into all of the other D&D
On
stuff that's
loan
in the
from your
office.
private
Exactly.
collection.
Yeah.
I love that some people have Pinterest boards or idea boards, and you're like, no, our inspiration is
My
these
collection.
miniatures and these books.
Well, when we were doing up Arcan, for Joe Manganello, we were using I had a whole bunch of minis of the Dragonborn, and so I was getting out all the minis of the Dragonborn.
Nice.
And Arcan's got the Tiamat stuff, and so I had the Tiamat dragon. And
Right. So
yeah,
you can be like,
yeah.
this is what it is.
It's like, here it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Make it happen in the world. So you got to meet Joe at Stream of Annihilation, right?
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy. I
He's
know,
very
yeah.
tall.
Yeah, yes.
Did you think that someone like him was as much of a Dungeons and Dragons nerd as you were?
No, actually, so we had this funny. So he found out that Dylan had his character in the game.
Dylan Sprouse.
Yeah, Dylan Sprouse.
Yeah.
And so at the time, we were initially thinking of not having all the Force Grade characters, and Joe's like, I want to be in there. We're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure, let's do that. Yeah, sure. Okay.
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
the artists were really thrilled.
Like he was
yeah.
threatening you. He's like, my game's going to be in.
So yeah.
That's how he talks too, right? Is that a good impression?
That was perfect, spot on. I thought he was here. I was like, where'd
he go? Yeah.
Where's Joe?
I know. You've got his base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
But
the size.
you got to speak from your diaphragm.
So yeah.
That
So
would take
we were
years to learn how to do that.
we got on a call with Joe. He was like, do you want to chat about Arcan a bit? After
Yeah.
we sort of talked oh yeah, we'd love to do this. And so we're chatting, and I'm kind of doing this mental massive
Yeah.
football player, not necessarily a person I would hang out with in high school, huge D&D, totally the person I'd hang out with. And so I keep okay, focus on this side of that
That guy.
conversation.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we were, it was a conference call, and so there's no, he's not seeing us at the time that we were chatting. And he's describing all this backstory and going, and then he sort of stops. He's like, oh, sorry, was I going too into the D&D? And we're like, you're among your people,
Nope.
Joe. It's all good. Not
We
for us.
said,
This is
Tell
great.
me about your character. We mean it.
Yeah, exactly.
We really want to hear it.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he is one of those guys that, he will expound about his character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met people at conventions that tell me about they're defeating the dragon 30, 40 years ago and how this was this great story, and he's the same. He will just talk about his character so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
You're
really into it, which is great,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh, yeah.
because we have to, we have to design up equipment for them, and so knowing all of these pieces
Right.
was really helpful for inspiration of we'll do this here and do this here and do
And
this
how much
here,
better
right?
is that
So-
to be someone like, oh, I don't know, he's just a guy who,
Yeah, just
you know,
whatever.
yeah.
Do what you want.
He's just
Yeah.
Arkin,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
no.
so having those details is perfect for a game like that, right?
Yeah, well, and I think just because we're so all into it, it's just oh, okay. I mean, for me, that's one of the greatest things I love about working in the games industry is like anytime I go to like whether Gen Con or PAX or something, I always have the exact same feeling, which is like, these are my people.
Yeah.
You know, which honestly isn't necessarily a feeling I've had in a lot of other situations, but every time I go to that, like, and those are huge groups of people, and I'm like, this is my tribe. This is my group, right?
My tribe,
no, I mean, I really feel that, right? And
Yeah.
so that's something I love about being in the industry. And then, and anyone who's kind of in that tribe, you're like, this is part of my people,
You got like
right?
a shared language. You
Yeah.
got like touchstones that you can always hit on that people are like, oh yeah, that's cool, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting as a parent having that kind of as a common vocabulary with your kids, because then there's things you can talk about like of leveling up or what stat, and like there's a whole language you can use when talking about things that are happening at school or report cards or other kind of elements of the life that kind of are all this sort of shared vernacular because you're all playing a lot of games together.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm excited to check out Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. In the closed alpha, you should go to bit.ly, bit.ly/Greg Tito.
Or /Shelly Moo.
Mostly Greg Tito. And
If you want it to have a Mac build that doesn't exist yet, go to Greg Tito.
Exactly. Oh, that's
Dum-dum-dum.
dirty,
Slander.
underhanded
Wow.
tactics.
Slander.
But that's got to be awesome for everybody there who's like crunching and getting it ready to go to have like, Joe's really interested in this game and wants the art to match and all that stuff. So like
You want his character in it.
yeah, but then when you're just making it for the nameless, faceless people, it's hard to be motivated. But like you have an audience, like you have someone who's like passionate about his character being in there.
But also like Minsk and Boo and stuff like that too, right? It's
Right.
just like, I mean, Bruno, like, they're such our iconic characters. It's just like, it's so awesome to sort of get to take our own take on them and the art style of the game and stuff like that. It's been really fun to come up with and go like, this is how we would interpret these characters.
Neat. So you said it's closed off now. It'll
Yeah.
be in early access when?
So the stated thing has been before the end of Q3, so before the end of September.
Before the end of
Well,
September.
Yeah, be in early access on Steam.
That's
so.
not, that is soon.
It is soon.
Cool.
Yes. But you see, as a game developer who pushes things dominantly digitally as compared to a physical goods manufacturer like
Right.
Wizards, we work in different time frames than you guys are used to working
You
in.
have, it can go literally to the last minute.
Yeah, we're like, well, in Crusaders, we'll finish something on a Thursday, and on Friday it'll be in players' hands.
Yeah.
Here it takes a little bit longer working
Yeah.
with Wizards,
But still, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really fast.
So
Awesome.
do idle games have to have the name idle in their title?
they
You
do
mentioned
not.
two, and they both had idle in
Yeah,
it.
but
That's
Idols
true.
is
Idols
IDO.
is IDO.
oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it's like a whole thing.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go.
You guys were thinking about that one for a long time, weren't you?
Clever.
We did, well, actually, coming up with the names is like really difficult.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah. I'm the one who came up with that name.
Really?
I'm going to take full credit
on
for
the
that.
call. You're like, there we go.
Yeah, because it was
Yes.
like I think it was at one point it was Forgotten Realms : Idle Champions.
And, you're
And I was like, why don't we just make it longer
Yeah.
and harder to put on a T-shirt?
Exactly, that's right. Design
But
a
the
logo
t-shirt's
you can't
very
fit
cool.
anywhere
Right.
without it being lost.
Where do you
yeah.
get a T-shirt?
Oh, can I
In
trade
your
you?
office?
Can I trade you a Demogorgon for a T-shirt? Or two?
Like
Or
right
two?
off your back.
I don't have it. Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
taken off here.
Yeah.
There we
Exactly.
go. Yeah.
Greg will
right.
give you his nice pink
Nice.
T-shirt.
Well, and
Oh,
I'll
this the pink D&D shirt.
yeah.
You wash it with your socks?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's it came this way. It came this
Came
way.
that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did because everybody here has got very dark colored things on, and Sean told me to have bright colors.
Oh.
Sean
Okay.
said just
Well,
don't wear black.
Yeah. So you don't like blend in. But
Well,
we got,
but
we
I
got
gotta-
better
Well,
Well, you
lights here
have-
going on.
That doesn't count, right? 'Cause he's got
Greg
stuff on.
told me to wear this on Friday.
I did.
Because it was
He doesn't-
like,
see,
don't wear any branded
Greg
stuff
Tito
except
doesn't
for...
want Eric to show up on this podcast, so
know.
don't use his link.
You're blending
That's-
into the
there
back.
we go.
Right.
Slash Shelly Moo.
So.
All right. Well, we gotta let you go because we gotta get right to Force Grey.
Of course, yeah.
Force
Yeah,
Grey is
Force
coming
Grey.
in very
Awesome.
soon. Coming in
Yeah.
hot.
Absolutely.
It was awesome talking to you, and I can't
Thank
wait
you.
for people to jump in and start playing this game. You should go to bit.ly /Greg Tito to download the closed alpha for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, and
Closed
jump into everything that we've just been talking about.
Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and offer feedback, obviously. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. It'll be in early access soon.
Early access,
That's
yeah.
very
Early
soon.
access before the end of September. So
Nice.
Soon.
All right, man.
I'm going to go hit
Okay.
my own link right now.
Do it. That's the only way you're going to get one link is because the one that you're doing.
Oh.
That's cold. That's cold.
Tally him up, team. I want to know who's
All right.
winning.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
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 Bye. All right, so that's podcast is over part. Now let's do the real outro. You can.
Oh, we're still on?
Yeah, I guess we're still
yeah,
kind of
okay.
on. Because we do like this.
Oh, thank
yeah,
you, Don.
John Lee QC did
John
it for the
Lee
reals.
QC.
All right, so we're gonna pretend you're not here for this one. Just pretend you're not
not
here.
say anything?
Yeah,
Is
be
that
as
what
silent
that-
as
is
a
that
mouse.
what
I mean, if you have a funny joke to say, you can totally throw it in there. But wasn't that really great talking to Eric Jordan?
Yes.
He was a really cool guy.
I especially enjoyed learning about seaplanes.
That was like my Kermit voice that I was doing during the Girl Scouts Glory thing last week, where like for some reason like
seaplanes.
I had like 4 Kermit voice like situations. I was like,
Why
what
were
just
they coming
happened?
up?
I don't know. I was like being like the other person voice, and I just said it like 3 times. Like,
Oh.
and I shouted, I was like, oh, I wish Shelley was here. She'd be like
I would be-
critiquing my voiceover skills and how
Elevate.
elevate. You guys are very good. You're very
Elevate.
good.
All your Kermit voices. No, that was
so,
great. This sounds fun.
I want to check out the game. I actually have already, but I'm slow playing it to make sure that I'm feeling like I'm one of the audience.
Well, I'm inspired now.
It's really good, and
going.
I think you should push Eric really hard to make sure that there's a Shelley character as one of the champions. Yeah, and maybe it's a part-time sorceress. Is
Astrid would be cool to
Yeah,
have in there.
I
My
think-
first D&D character.
nice
Oh, you can interject.
if you really want to. I know, so that'd be exciting. And then I don't know what my character would be, but it would be terrible, and people would hate it, and then they
You
would throw
really,
things at it.
your self-esteem today is not good,
It's
Mr.
not good. Yeah, it's not very good. So if you want to find out about anything that we've been talking about so far, you can go to dungeonsanddragons.com. Everything we talk about is generally on there, but of course, Dragon Plus is the best way to get more of a deep dive on stuff.
Get it.
Download the app. It's on iOS. It's in Android. It's on the web at dragonmag.com.
It's everywhere
It's
you
everywhere. And I mentioned this before, but I don't know if people know this, but it collates and aggregates all of our social feeds, including stuff from Twitch, from Facebook, from Twitter. And so just on the front
One-stop
page
shopping.
of the Dragon Plus app, you'll get like
So
a
you could
news
just
feed of
check
Dungeons and
in
Dragons.
every day and
Yeah.
just say what's happening. Okay.
It's all right there. And you can check in now with Bart Carroll on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time to do like a deep dive on our Dragon Plus, like news magazine show. It's like a 2020 kind of style of thing is what we're going for
Wow.
that. Yeah. And so tune into that. It's tomorrow, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time. The first one is going to be with Adam Lee talking about Grunglung, the settlement of Grung in
Adam
Chult.
Lee.
He's good people.
He's really good people.
You can follow Shelley at Shelley Moo
Shelley Moo.
to find out all about the game that you've got coming out on October 6th.
Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
It's good stuff.
Or
There's-
the Access and Allies Anniversary Edition, also coming out on October 6th.
or the other game you're working on. When are we going to tell people about that?
Shh.
Shut your mouth.
Stop it.
Maybe you'll find out. Oh, sorry. And I'll be leaking things also later. I'm
Yeah,
at
I'm gonna
Greg
start calling
Tito.
you Nathan Stewart.
I know. I'm taking it from that book. You guys are the best. We will see you next week on Dragon Talk. And if you want to watch us record this live, go to twitch.tv/DND on Mondays, Pacific time, 2 to 5 p.m. We record this, and we're going to throw it directly to the next episode of Force Grey, Lost City of Omu.
Let's do it.
Let's do it right now. All right. We'll make with the bing bongs for you guys on the podcast. And for the rest of you, we will be showing that episode in about a couple of minutes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.